The name disappears, but everything else stays. You remember his face, where you met him, and the story he told about missing a flight, but his name is gone. The same thing happens with places. You know the coffee shop on the corner. You can picture the blue sign. Someone asks what it is called. Nothing. You know the street. You know the route. You even remember the dog that barks behind the red fence. But the street name, shop name, and dog's name refuse to appear. Then comes the private accusation. How can I remember all of that and still forget one simple word? Because sometimes your memory keeps the meaning, image, and experience while losing the verbal label attached to them, and once you understand that difference, the blank moment feels less like failure. At work, a new coworker introduces herself. You remember she works in finance and has a son starting kindergarten. 10 minutes later, you are waiting for someone else to say her name. A friend asks which restaurant you like downtown. You remember the pasta, the brick wall, and the terrible parking. The name feels close. But it never arrives. So, you build sentences around the missing word. That guy from marketing. The little shop near the pharmacy. Your friend from college. The road beside the park. You are remembering almost everything, except the label. That is why your memory can feel full and empty at the same time. Names are unusual pieces of information. A face gives your brain expression, movement, and emotion. A place gives you layout, sound, and location. A dog gives you a bark, habit, and personality. But the name attached to any of them is often arbitrary. Nothing about a brown dog naturally tells your brain he is called Winston. Nothing about a quiet street tells you it is called Maple Avenue. The label has to be connected to the thing. And that connection requires attention. But introductions are rarely simple. While someone says their name, you may be reading their expression, preparing your reply, wondering whether you have met before, and deciding what to say next. Part of you is meeting the person. Another part is watching yourself meet them. When you think, I must remember this, attention can shift from the name to your own performance. The pressure to remember can interfere with the moment needed to store it. The same happens with places. When you pass a shop, you may be watching traffic or searching for parking. The sign is visible, but your attention never truly lands on it. Your mind becomes a crowded front desk. Faces, feelings, directions, and tasks keep arriving. The information that feels most relevant gets handled first. The loose label is placed on the counter, then buried. Later comes the familiar tip of the tongue feeling. You know the word exists. You may even know its first sound. But retrieval stalls. This happens more often when you are tired, distracted, stressed, or mentally overloaded. Sometimes, the brain simply remembers context more easily than vocabulary. You know which street leads home, even when you cannot name it. You recognize the shop where you bought the gift. You remember that the dog is friendly. The information is often still there. The label is what slipped away. The hardest part is not always forgetting. It is what you do to hide it. At work, you may avoid greeting someone because their name will not appear quickly enough. They may read your hesitation as distance. You know who they are, yet feel you failed a basic social test. With friends or partners, forgetting a name can sound like forgetting the person. Your partner says, "You know Sarah, the one I told you about?" You remember Sarah's breakup, new job, and birthday trip. You just did not hold on to the word Sarah. They hear, "You were not listening." You hear, "Something is wrong with me." Then, you begin compensating. You check social media before gatherings. You search maps before explaining a route. You scan old messages for the restaurant name. That is the deeper cost. Not the missing word, but the energy spent covering the gap. A retrieval problem slowly becomes a confidence problem. The more embarrassed you become, the more pressure you feel next time. Now, the name is not just a name, it is a test. A more accurate thought might be, I remember meaning better than labels. That does not excuse never paying attention. It gives you a kinder and more useful explanation. The next time you hear a name, use 3 steps. Notice it, connect it, repeat it. Notice the name before planning your reply. Connect it to one clear detail. Maya from product design, Winston, the dog with the blue collar, Maple Avenue, the road to the library. Then repeat it naturally, once. Nice to meet you, Maya. You are giving the label more than one path back into memory. And when the name disappears anyway, the ask, without turning the moment into a confession, I remember you, but your name just slipped. Or, what was that cafe called again? Most people would rather repeat a name than watch you circle around it. The goal is not to become someone who never forgets. The goal is to stop treating every missing label as proof that you are careless or disconnected. Your mental front desk may still get crowded, but you can clear a small space and attach the name to something meaningful. You did not forget the whole person. You did not forget the whole place. You remembered the face, story, route, feeling, and experience. Sometimes, the smallest word is simply the easiest thing to lose. What do you remember clearly, even though its name always disappears? A person? A dog? A street? A shop you have visited for years? Share the story, or simply write, "I know it, but I cannot name it." Subscribe for more reflections like this.